Scholars have debated for years about what's really happening in the Jacob wrestling story. Is he attacked by robbers? Does he have a panic attack? Is the stranger really Esau in disguise? For me, all of those kinds of questions don't matter. It doesn't matter because all of the epic battles of our lives, our battles with guilt, shame, fear, doubt, grief, or unforgiveness, our wrestling matches with family, friends, enemies, community, church, creed, are ultimately, they're all battles with and about God. It's with God and in our relationship to God and in God's all-encompassing presence that we fight the fights that bend, break, and remake us. It's in God's company that we face down the demons within and around us. It's really all about God. It's God alone who brings us to the ragged edges of our own strength so that finally we'll surrender and allow ourselves to be freed, liberated, saved. Whether we recognize the stranger as God or not, God is always the one we struggle with. God is always the one who battles with and against us, so to speak, not for our detriment, but for our transformation. Jacob and the man wrestle, the text says, all night long. They wrestle until Jacob's he's worn out, till he must prevail, till their limbs are entangled, their eyes fixed on one another, until the darkness breaks and they see the dawn all night. Here again, this story speaks to me. I was a little boy when I first heard this story. It was in Sunday school, and it was kind of scary. A violent man leaping out of the darkness, a pitched battle, a wrestling match for hours, all night long, really. God in the guise of an angel or a man or a demon or something dislocating Jacob's hip, abandoning him by a river. That whole story struck me as ominous, the stuff that movies and nightmares are made of. What kind of God does things like that? Wasn't God supposed to be loving, protective, safe? Well, yes. Well, no. He's not. Well, at least not in the ways I tend to define loving, protective, and safe. The God who goes toe-to-toe with Jacob, with us, is not a God whose first priority is our comfort or ease. He's not a God who maintains a polite distance, minds his manners, so to speak, or makes nice. It's not his job just to keep us happy. No, Jacob's God is wild and mysterious, unpredictable, strange even. Jacob's God doesn't hesitate to muck around in the mud for several hours to bring Jacob to his knees. Indeed, the Hebrew word for wrestle means to get dusty, to get dirty. This is no dainty, unbreakable God. This is a God of dust and sweat and blood and tears, a God who's willing to get down in the dirt to lift us up out of the dirt. If you're like me, Jacob's God is not the God we grew up with. As a child and as a teenager, I thought of God as more fragile, I guess, easily offended, easily upset, easily put off. So I better be on my P's and Q's. My job as a good Christian then was to obey the rules, to keep this delicate divinity happy at all costs. One bad turn, one wrong question, one sullied view on the doctrine, and God would shatter like a china teacup. What a contrast to the God who spends an entire night by a muddy river duking it out with Jacob. That's a God who wants to engage you and me, a God that we can throw ourselves against with the full weight of our thoughts, our questions, our ideas, our feelings. God, he invites our rigor, our persistence, our intensity, our strength. This is a God who doesn't let go of us, and he never will. So be strengthened today. No matter your circumstance, God still holds on. Blessings.